As far as the grid is concerned, Ash Sutton starts on pole position. Tom Ingram with him at the front. 1 lap and 2 laps of boost respectively. Second row, Dan Camish, he has got more boost than those ahead, and Mikey Doble lining up with him with a full allocation, bearing in mind that he is outside that top 8 in the championship. James Dorlin, having never driven the car in the wet, got 5th in qualifying. Brilliant job yesterday, and a great return for Senna Proctor 6th despite an alternator failure towards the end of the session. Row 4, Tom Chilton. He's got 7 laps worth of boost. Then you've got Jake Hill, he's got 3 laps. Gordon Shedden comes next. He had an intermittent power delivery issue yesterday, so there's more to come from that car today. Dan Rowbottom, 4 laps of boost, a winner this year. He is next ahead of Charles Rainford, a winner this year. Dexter Patterson next. Then you've got Darryl De Leon, a winner this year. And Josh Cook, after a big off yesterday, had a trip to A&E, an all-nighter from the team, but he's on the grid, one to watch. Dan Lloyd next. And then Adam Morgan, 6th in the championship, 6 laps worth of boost. He's ahead of Chris Smiley and Max Hall. Then you've got Stephen Jelly and Aidan Moffat ahead in turn of Sam Osborne and Ronan Pearson, with Aaron Taylor-Smith and Nicholas Hamilton rounding out the grid. As ever with the new qualifying format, there are people out of position, so there's a lot to look for in this race.
Yes, and no option tyres. Everybody on the hard tyre for Thruxton. This is your boost allocation in laps. Remember, it's not in seconds now as qualifying, it's in laps.
And Dan Camish on 5 compared to the 1 and 2 of those ahead of him, and with a quick car and with 2 pole positions to his name and a race win. Is he the dark horse to win this race?
Yeah, he could be if he manages to use it at the right time or force the others to use it and run out. Then he could well be in the pound seat.
So Ash Sutton then up to pole position, the only double winner of the year. Tom Ingram yet to be a race winner. Dan Camish has had a victory, Mikey Doble has had a victory, and that is the top 4 on the grid. There is Ash Sutton, parked so that he doesn't just creep over the grid markings then on that 1-by-1 staggered grid on the pits straight, in quotes. It's more of a long arc that takes you down towards Allard. The new fencing on the pit wall means that there have to be repeaters and marshals on the other side of the road as well to let people see the flags, the boards, the lights. The teams now go to the pit garages, they have all the data, they have the pictures available to them. That's how they'll then follow the race, and the race is round 10 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. The grid is formed. It is going to be 16 laps ahead of us, everybody on that hard tyre. It's a dry day, a dry circuit, 5-second board shown, and we are ready for business then. Lights will go red, engine notes rise. It is lights out. It is a good start by Sutton. Not a great start by Camish in comparison to Doble, who's almost up alongside him, but Sutton has certainly got the drop on Ingram. Jake Hill round the outside of Senna Proctor, and a very, very sideways Chilton in the middle of the pack. Has he been able to save it as the cars come up towards us? Yes, he has, but there's a BMW off the road as well in the background, having a big, big lose. It's Charles Rainford, who's gone around and around and around. A real magic roundabout job that. It will drop him to the back of the field. I think he was taking evasive action, and it all went wrong for him as Sutton leads Ingram, and those two have got away with Doble 3rd. Up into 4th is James Dornan, and Camish has gone backwards.
Yeah, but Ash Sutton off like a bottle of pop from the line. He was gone, but Ingram's looking very challenging on this first lap. Both these guys so good on cold tyres. The tyres here get up to temperature really fast anyway. As you say, Camish was the loser initially off the line.
And Gordon Shedden's also made some good progress then. We know that he's an experienced driver with a great strike rate here, 7 times a Thruxton winner, so he's certainly one to watch. That Toyota Corolla getting better in the drive than in the wet, as here are the 2 race leaders then absolutely nose to tail. Ingram goes to the outside line. Ash Sutton has only 1 lap's worth of boost. Safety car deployed as Ingram tries to go right round the outside. They're going to be level. He goes through. Sutton has to give him room. Ingram will lead at the end of the lap. They race to the flags and the boards, and Ingram is ahead. Doble tries to get up alongside Sutton, and he is ahead and past him as they get to the line, but then I think we'll give back that place. Sutton looked to be going back through on the inside. So, safety car deployed at the end of the opening lap of the race, and it must be for Charles Rainford's car that has not come by. Have another look at the start. Now have a look at Chilton. He's up the curb, he hits Proctor, he gets all sideways. Gets
sideways, and it's actually Rainford goes off on the left in avoidance, comes back across the track. Fortunately, nobody collects him. That could have been very nasty. Yeah. Shades of Adam Morgan back in the Mercedes a few years ago, but fortunately doesn't hit anybody. But yes, a bit of a kerfuffle at the chicane as they came in.
But Rainford has got going. The ones that we've lost are Max Hall and Sam Osborne. They are the 2 that have not come through on the opening lap. So the safety car is not for Charles Rainford, in fairness to him. He's got going again. But Max Hall and Sam Osborne are off the racetrack, and that's at the back part of the circuit. Good Thruxton Village Church area where we saw Josh Cook having his moment yesterday and Adam Morgan off the road. You can see that Sam Osborne is out of the car. Max Hall a little bit winded, I fear, after the impact. You can see that the tyre barrier is deformed on the right of the shot there, so the safety car is deployed, and therefore everybody has to slot in behind. No overtaking permitted right now.
Yeah, although I couldn't actually see any damage on Max Hall's car. It could, of course, be on the right-hand side, but I couldn't see it. So hopefully they're both okay. Yeah, it looks like he's getting out of the car now. Sam Osborne in the background, he's out of the car, but the car is nosed into the barrier, so that will definitely have front damage. Max Hall just checking a few things on the car. The Napa Racing, Alliance Racing team in the pit lane looking on slightly concerning. We'll go back to the... this is off the start from Pearson, watching in front. That's Max Hall. Osborne is just in front. Aaron Taylor-Smith has come into shot in the Toyota on the right. Obviously got Charles Rayford who's come across the grid already on the right, so that doesn't affect them. Max Hall on the left, look, goes all the way around the outside into the complex, which is the right thing to do when you're at the back and the gap opens up for you. They're very tight together as they come through Campbell Cobb. Seagrave is the exit. The next one is the left-hand of Noble, and it's through Noble and Goodwood, I think, that the incident occurs. Looking ahead, can I see? Oh, it looks like Osborne lost it on the right. Osborne lost it. Oh no, that's Hall. Max Hall's lost it on the right, and come back across the road and collected Osborne. Very unfortunate. That's a cold right rear tyre on Max Hall's car, is why he's lost it. But this is on board with Adam Morgan. Remember, he started down in 16th. Gets a good start. He's got...
there's Rainford on the grass, straight across on the right, tries to catch the slide. Big scary moment for Rainford, so Morgan should be ahead of that drama that's triggered the safety car. He's up to 11th, incidentally, by the end of the opening lap. He gets involved there with Dexter Patterson, does Adam Morgan. And there you can see cars need moving, barrier repair work to be done. This might take a few laps yet, so the driver's currently behind the safety car, and Max Hall's car being retrieved. The drivers will go to the medical centre, of course, no matter how large or small an incident, just to be checked over. Let's try and grab a word with Adam Morgan then. Adam, not a bad first lap, up into 11th place. It all looked quite frantic. You have BMW spinning across the road in front of you and everything.
Yeah, that was pretty hectic to begin with, but yeah, in those situations you just got to try and make the most of it. Try and pick your gaps, make sure it's safe. But yeah, it's not a bad first couple of laps up into P11, like you say. So we'll try and get our head down and keep on going.
What can you do now while the safety car is out? Is there anything you can adjust in the car? Is it just a case of sit there and wait for the restart? Can you use the time?
You've got to manage these tyres, manage the brakes. We know how abrasive it is around here, so you want to keep the temperature up in the tyres, but at the same time you don't want to take any life out the front. So it's a constant management is around Thruxton. You're constantly looking after stuff, but it looks like it might be a lengthy safety car, so we can build it back up a bit nearer the time.
All right, we'll leave you to that management process for now. Cheers, Adam.
Thank you.
So Adam Morgan is in 11th place. Quickly to mention, behind him, 12th, Josh Cook. Good first lap from him.
Yeah, very good. Don't forget, Josh Cook's had no time in that car since it's been rebuilt. He couldn't even do a shakedown or anything, so One Motorsport have done an excellent job of getting that car fixed. A disgruntled Sam Osborne walks across to the incident support vehicle for a lift back to the pits. Just at the front though, remember Ingram had got round the outside of Sutton, but he's given that place back to Sutton, so it's Sutton that's leading on the road now. And of course it was at the chicane last year that Ingram took a place and did give it back and subsequently lost the win.
True enough, so leaving nothing to chance this year. You're on board with Dan Rowbottom at the minute. He's 7th place. This is a replay of his start.
On board with Rowbottom. Not the best start, look. He's lost several positions, not only to the fast-starting rear-wheel drive BMWs, but also to the front-wheel drive cars in front of him. That was a big old moment.
Whoa, so was that.
That was a big old moment. It just opened up nicely for him. It's probably just as well he made a bad start. Yeah. He will tell us he did that deliberately to avoid that incident. But it did leave him a nice gap in front, didn't it?
It did rather. The first slide you saw was Tom Chilton. The car coming from the grass to the other side was BMW of Charles Rainford. It's Spencer Aldridge in the middle there. Tom Ingram's race engineer looking on in the Team Virtue pit. The BRDC cap just turning around in the background. Marvin Humphreys, the team manager. There you start to get an idea of the damage on Sam Osborne's car. A lot of damage on that right rear corner. So the cars are being moved. We've also got that tyre barrier to sort out. We can add on 3 laps, but this is, like Adam Morgan predicted, a lengthy safety car period.
Yeah, he could see the damage there to both the cars and the barrier. But yeah, I think as Max Hall speared back across the track, he hit Sam Osborne in that right rear, and then that pushed Osborne obviously off into the barriers as well. So the Alliance Racing team have got some work to do to get that car fixed. I'm sure they're already getting the bits out. But yeah, I mean, Chilton actually is actually still in a good position. He's in 14th place, so despite that wild moment, he didn't lose too many positions.
Max Hall's 4th retirement of the season. He's had quite a few incidents, as we've seen at Brands and Snatterton as well as here. Mikey Doble, in the meantime, running in 3rd place. There he is, at work, and this is his start.
Good to see a start near the front. Look how well Ash Sutton gets off the line. In fact, both Ingram and Sutton got away very nicely. Camish at this point is 3rd and looks fine, so I'm not sure quite how he then loses position. We'll watch on Bob Dover. Hopefully we'll stay with it and see the overtake. He goes to the outside, good move, but can't quite get all the way alongside. Or does he make a lunge? He does make a lunge. Oh, and that's what tapped Camish. So Camish lost that position as a result of a bit of contact with Doble, but Doble was racing hard there into the left-hander of the complex. They both lost distance to the front 2 though. They're off and away with Ingram trying really hard to get past on the first lap. Doble with the car working well for him as they come down towards Church. This is still 6th gear. Just a partial lift on the throttle right across the inside. There is a track limits violation if you go too wide on the exit, but he gets a nice neat run, and we're possibly going to see the Tom Ingram round the outside move into the chicane here. He sets it up beautifully. I was looking, in fact the lights were on, you could see on the marshal post. I was looking to the marshal's post, which is why he's given the post back. Doble actually possibly hasn't seen it because he actually overtakes at the line but then gives it back.
Yeah. So that puts him back into 3rd place. He will have to do the work again, and so will Tom Ingram. So right now we're on lap number 6 out of what's going to be 19 ultimately, with the extra laps added on for the safety car. There is the Motor Parts Direct with Power Max Racing team. Down to 1 car. Nick Halstead taken ill yesterday with some pain. And, he was watching at home. Get well soon, Nick. But he went out in FP1 and around his rib cage was quite tender. Went to hospital and has decided to step back from this weekend, but he will be back later in the season, no doubt. There is Mikey Doble then, upholding team honour, and he runs in 3rd. Race order then is Sutton Ingram from Doble, Camish, Dorlin, Proctor, Rowbottom, Shedden, Hill and De Leon, the top 10. And there is Max Hall's car being craned away from one side of the circuit to the other. The car of Sam Osborne behind. The tyre barrier, assuming it is sorted out, should allow us to go racing very soon as well. Marshals will be back on post once those incident vehicles are out of the way. Ian Watson, Dave White, his deputy, the clerks of the course, they'll be looking at not only these pictures that we all have, but at the Marshals post CCTV cameras, making sure everything is out of the way, making sure that the barrier is safe, so if another accident has to be withstood, it's up to the job, and then the call can be made to bring in the safety car and we can go back racing, which hopefully might be at the end of this lap.
Yeah, one thing of course that's new this year is the safety car restart rules, which will close everybody up, because if you remember, Sutton and Ingram had that little gap to everybody, but although that was closed up through the chicane under the safety car, but on the new restart rules they're not allowed to accelerate till they're out of the chicane and they get to the restart line, so it should mean that everyone's much closer together.
So who are the ones to watch on the restart? Well, probably half the grid, really. But you've got Dan Rowbottom looking to buy back some places. Gordon Shedden's in a hurry. So is Jake Hill, Adam Morgan and Josh Cook, and the recovering Tom Chilton. Dan Lloyd is in 15th, and that car was quick in the dry. And Chris Smiley 17th, and he topped FP2. So he struggled in the wet, but that's another car that by rights ought to be higher up the order. And of course, there's Charles Rainford, 22nd last, but he's now got to try and get some places back.
Yeah, one thing that we haven't discussed really is the BMWs. Jake Hill is the top BMW in 9th, and we look forward to they look forward to certainly some better race pace than they had in qualifying. It was just too wet. The BMWs, when they're wet, when it's wet, Jake Hill's been fantastic over the last couple of years, but when it's really wet and aquaplaning, the front-wheel drive cars have an advantage. Looks like we're going for a restart.
Lights are out on top of the safety car then. Into the chicane come Sutton, Ingram, Doble, Camish, Dorlin, Proctor, the top 6. Rowbottom, Shedden, Hill, De Leon round out the top 10. There's a green flag being readied on the start line. The boards and flags are withdrawn. There's the green flag. Ash Sutton accelerates. Now, coming out of the chicane, we go back racing. You can't overtake until you cross the timing line and down towards Allard. It is Sutton versus Ingram. They are absolutely nose to tail. Ingram has found a way past once in rather robust fashion. He's going to try and do it again. Neither of them wanting to use their lap or 2 laps worth of turbo boost until the very end. This is Doble closing up on the outside. Camish goes back past him. Really demon move by Camish. He goes third. Ingram's looking for a way past Sutton, but Camish certainly has a point to prove after being roughed up at the original start, and he's brought back third place already.
Well, Doble outbraked himself. You can see by the closing speed into the chicane that Doble was either going to do a demon brake around the outside, or as it transpired, he just outbraked himself, so he just opened the door for Camish, who's straight onto the back, in fact, of Ingram.
And don't forget that Camish has got more boost available to him. He wants to use that towards the end of the race as well, but it's Sutton ahead of Ingram. Camish absolutely storming along to catch up. In 4th place is Mikey Doble. Small gap back to 5th, Dorlin. 6th it's Proctor. 7th is Rowbottom. Here are the race leaders. And look at Camish go. Gets a bit of a toe off Ingram, who gets a toe from Sutton. To the inside line goes Sutton. To the outside line goes Ingram. He's done it once here to get the lead. Sutton right on the limit as the car quivers under braking. They clash. Camish is going to go through for the lead. They skip out the chicane. Arguably gain an advantage in so doing. Proctor's off the road as well. Ingram comes through in the lead, and that was the last of the late breakers on the outside line. There was really nowhere Ingram could go.
There was nowhere to get, because Sutton's car was barely in control, wasn't it? It was hopping and skipping on the brakes, and he just ran wide and took Ingram with him. Here's Proctor getting stuck back into touring car racing behind champion Jake Hill, and not afraid to rub him up.
Absolutely, and there's Josh Cook. Look up on the inside, the king of Thruxton, 9 times a race winner here. He's on the back of Gordon Shedden, 7 times a winner here, and Cook's going to clear 2 of them in one great move. Fantastic. Josh Cook goes by. No ill effects of yesterday's off, that's for sure at the moment, as he goes up towards Noble. And that contact, Proctor gets into Shedden, who's on the grass. The car is sideways. He's back on the tarmac, and mercifully, nobody collects him. That was an enormous Code Brown moment for Gordon Shedden, but thankfully he'll be able to get back on the tarmac. He might want to brought a lot of grass on the front of the car, which will send the temperatures off the clock, and the pit lane may beckon, but that could have been a whole lot worse. Well,
I mean, poor old Gordon Shedden, he just has no luck. Remember, he was collected by Max Hall at Snetterton. He's now been turfed into a spin at one of the fastest parts of the track here by returning Senna Proctor. He won't be happy at all.
I think turfed was the operative word, given how much grass he brought back. Out of the chicane, then come the leaders. Morgan is there ahead of Chilton, ahead of De Leon. So Tom Ingram leads, ahead of Sutton, ahead of Camish. Now this is how Ingram got the lead.
So Sutton doesn't want to let him through. The car is hopping, skipping and bumping, and look, he just wipes Ingram off the road to the outside. I mean, the unfortunate one really, I guess, is Camish, because he should have inherited the lead.
Would he argue that they gained an advantage by being off the track like that? They didn't slow much.
Well, they didn't slow much, and the question is, did they come out further ahead than they went in? That's the touch from Senna Proctor on the back of Gordon Shedden, and you're right, he did pick up a load of grass in the inlet, but fortunately the car didn't spear back across the road.
That's the best news of all. The intake of breath from Toyota Gazoo Racing UK, pretty much audible all the way up the pit lane as that car got sideways. The leaders then are coming out of Church Corner. We're on lap 10 out of this elongated 19-lap race. Senna Proctor may find himself in a little bit of hot water for that contact at that part of the racetrack. Bit race rusty, Senna, having not been in the championship since 2021. As with a lock-up, Ingram leads. Sutton, though, is back at him.
Yeah, he is. Well, obviously Ingram did absolutely nothing wrong in that manoeuvre. He couldn't turn into the corner. He got taken wide. But so I guess between the two of them, the positions are as they should be.
Yeah, but as you say, Dan Camish might think, well, hang on a minute, I did it all right. I went through the chicane and I've come out no better off. So look back now from Adam Morgan's car at Tom Chilton. The two teammates running currently in 10th and 11th. But Tom Ingram still looking for that maiden victory of the season. He leads the way. He's up the road ahead. And Tom looking for win number 34. His last win was at Brands at the end of last season. That's Rowbottom getting ahead of James Dorlin. So that's the change for 5th place now.
That was a lovely move. That was a really well-timed move. to get through on the exit of the complex. He did that absolutely beautifully, Rowbottom. Cookie, though, up to 8th place now. Fantastic run from Cookie.
So there's Jake Hill next on the tail of Rowbottom. He's cleared James Dawlin as well. Cook next up. So Josh is going to line up to have a go on the inside. Is he into Church? Yes, gets the job done. This is the replay of the Robo move.
So watch how he does this. He carries more speed through the left. So normally you sacrifice a bit of speed through the left to get a good line, as James Dawlin for the last one. But if you carry more speed, you can slip up the inside, just like Dan Rowbottom did. Perfect manoeuvre. And typical of Thruxton racing.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hill for Rowbottom is a possible change. Cook to get in on the axe as well before the end. Ingram and Sutton go by. That's 11 laps done then, 8 to go as they head in towards Allard. So Tom Ingram ahead of Ash Sutton. In 3rd place behind them it's Dan Camish, still chipping away, but he has 3 laps of boost left, so he's still slightly better placed in terms of power available to the end, but he's not much closer than he was a lap or so ago. He's still not really part of that fight for the lead.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't want to use his extra boost to close up. He wants it to overtake if he can. So he would like Sutton to start messing about with Ingram and slow them both down. Then he could use his boost to pass.
So he wants to do it on pure pace, but the key point of all of this is the pace is not there, because on his last lap he was slower than the 2 ahead of him, so he doesn't have as quick a car on base pace, never mind the boost. So Camish is 9/10 of a second back from Sutton. There he is, look in the background. Mikey Doble is 4th, then a gap back to Rowbottom, to Hill, to Josh Cook then. So Josh started 14th and he's running in 7th place. So how's that for a recovery?
Fantastic. They don't call him the King of Thruxton for nothing. He didn't get those 10 wins by accident, did he?
Out of the chicane, he will come in a moment. There is the Honda Civic then, the One Motorsport car of Steve Dudman's team. Santa Proctor goes by there, 9th, coming out of the chicane. Leaders have gone through. Ingram to Sutton is 3/10. Camish is falling back. He's 11/10 away from Sutton now.
Yeah,
so he's dropping off the tail of the top 2.
And tyre management used to be a huge aspect of racing at Thruxton, but the cooler conditions and the fantastic Goodyear hard compound tyre, they don't have to worry about it in the way they used to. It should make the end of the race, especially having had that nice little safety car moment to cool them off a little bit.
So the race leaders currently are on lap number 13. Josh Cook, fastest lap of the race. He's got past Jake Hill. He's into the top 6. We have not seen the best out of the Honda, the team, nor Josh this year. We are seeing it now. Bear in mind, this has been rebuilt overnight. Josh was in A&E with a sore ankle being looked at. He's okay, although during the week he might, when the adrenaline wears off, be a bit more in pain. But right now, this is an absolutely fantastic performance. Yes, we know he goes well round here, and yes, we know the car has always gone well round here. But bear in mind that it hadn't turned a wheel after the crash until it went to the grid. This is impressive.
Yeah, and here he comes round the outside of Rowbottom to take 6th place. 5th place, sorry.
And he's still got boost available.
Yeah.
He started with the full 8 laps worth. He had 4 laps at the start of this lap. He is going to be on the back of Doble before long as well. So Cookie goes by, and Ingram to Sutton is 3/10, 1.2 seconds further back. It's Camish, and then it's Doble in 4th. It's Cook 5th. But Josh for 4th place before the end is a real possibility. Ash Sutton for the race lead before the end isn't out of the question.
No, it's definitely not. He's back on the tail, and that's got Ingram looking in his mirrors, which is exactly what Sutton wants. But yeah, just emphasising how good the Goodyear tyres are. Josh Cook set that fastest lap on lap 10. That's almost unheard of in Thruxton racing sort of parlance, because normally the tyre starts to go off very quickly after lap 2 or 3. So he's on fire, and so the Goodyear tyres.
Race leaders then working their way out of that long Goodwood Village Church right-hander that loops you all the way around the back part of the circuit. We've got 1 or 2 more drivers being warned about track limits, but we've still got battles to resolve, one of which crucially is for the race lead. Lap 14 in this now 19-lap race because of the safety car intervention. It's Tom Ingram ahead. He's not getting away from Ash Sutton, and it's Ingram that locks up slightly this time into the chicane. Sutton closing back up behind him. 2 of the most popular drivers absolutely together as they come through the chicane, where there's as ever a big vocal crowd on hand at Thruxton. In 3rd place then it's Camish, and 4th it's Josh Cook. He's done it. So Josh Cook then comes through 14th to 4th.
Wow, what a drive. That's going to be one of the contenders for drive of the day, isn't it? And now Rowbottom has got through on Doble, so Doble just started to struggle a little bit.
Now, is it out of the question to ask Cook to catch Camish by the end of the race? 2.8 seconds between them, and Doble's got a problem. That's why he's been losing places, because the Vauxhall Astra stops at the complex. Mikey Doble, after the high of Snetterton, hits the low of retirement at Thruxton.
That's overheated in some big way, or the engine's let go, or something's gone wrong. He hasn't been across the grass, but remember on this grid, he had to do a recycle of the engine. So something wasn't quite right there. And it's definitely overheated somehow.
And this is lap 15, and of course it would have been 16 laps but for the safety car. But Mikey Doble, really sadly, is out of the race, and he's going to be at the back of the grid for race 2, along with Max Hall and Sam Osborne and Gordon Shedden, who had to pit after the car had its big off. So here are the leaders. Ingram locking up. He was a little bit further ahead of Sutton, but then scrabbles through the chicane. He uses lots of curb. Now Camish looking a bit nearer to them as a really dejected Doble walks away. Race done for Mikey Doble then, as the race leaders go by with 4 laps to go. Ingram along with Cook, along with Rowbottom, being warned about track limits at the chicane.
Yeah, and Camish hugely quicker than the others on that lap. He was 4/10 quicker than teammate Sutton just in front of him, 2/10 quicker than leader Ingram. So look, you can visually see he's suddenly close, and it hasn't been from using the boost. In fact, it was Sutton that used his 1 lap of boost on the last lap. I think Sutton's got a bit of a problem.
I think you're right, because he's just not got the pace there to fight, has he? He almost moves over and lets Camish go, but then fights back and has another go at him coming out of Noble. So is this for the team to say, okay, I haven't got the pace, let's see what Camo can do? Dan Cam goes up into 2nd position. Sutton stays on the tail of him, tries to, if you like, benefit from the slipstream to drag him around as the car of Nicholas Hamilton has pitted, incidentally. But now that's Sutton, I think, releasing Camish for Napa Racing to see what somebody else from the team could do about Ingram.
Well, I noticed on the last lap on this, what we call a straight, wow, really wide there, losing time. That was Senna Proctor. But yeah, on the last lap here, coming up the Woodham straight, or Woodham Hill, I saw Sutton losing time. So I don't know if he had a problem there. As side by side, Jake Kidd and Dan Rowbottom get into each other.
Yeah, that was Rowbottom fending off the challenge of Hill. Right, Ingram to Camish is 1.8 seconds. Sutton is being caught now by Cook for the podium. So Ash Sutton is down to 3rd, but with maybe some problem. That last lap was a 19.8, but we saw him, if you like, backing off and letting Camish by. That's Gordon Shedden going through, rebuilding his race. He's ahead of Dexter Patterson now for 19th position, but that was quite a save by Gordon Shedden. I'll tell you a lie, he didn't actually pit with all the grass in the front. He has persevered, but the car way down the order. But the fact that it's undamaged will be a massive relief to that team. Right, there, Rowbottom on the limit, the car dancing out of Noble. Hill is behind him, and James Dorlin is next in the queue. James's best result before this weekend has been a 14th place, and right now he is in 7th.
Fantastic qualifying and a fantastic first race for James Dorlin, really finding his feet in this championship. And Sutton is falling back towards Cookie.
Absolutely, Cook for the podium, still possible. There's Rowbottom from Hill, from James Dorlin, running in exalted company. Then Adam Morgan in 8th place, so Morgan 16th to 8th. As there, look, Hill is coming under attack from James Dorlin, going very well indeed here. So the Toyota looking a little bit more competitive than it has done in previous events, staying with the reigning champion. James Dorlin, first year of touring car racing, don't forget, comes across the line. We've got 2 laps to go. Ingram to Camish is 1.4 seconds. Last time Camish was quicker. Camish has an extra lap of boost available.
Yeah, 3/10 quicker. The gap is still 1.4 seconds though, so he's going to need a bit more than that 3/10 of a second. The boost itself is worth about 3 or 4/10 of a second, but he's only got 1 more lap of it than Ingram, so he may not quite have enough. And remember, Ingram hasn't won a race this year. He will be desperate to win this race.
This is the Sutton versus Cook battle. Tom Chilton is being given a 10-second penalty for track limit offences. He's 10th on the road, but this is the fight for 3rd on the road. Sutton versus Cook, Ford versus Honda, and Josh, after a very tough season, is about to make the move and go through on the inside, heading into Church. Job done. Brilliant stuff, this. Josh Cook goes by. He had a 3rd at Snetterton. and he might well emulate that. But bear in mind, he was in hospital yesterday evening. The car was in bits, and he's ahead even with a flash of the lights as they thanks for the room. Up towards the chicane he comes then. Brave stuff by two more of the top drivers in the championship.
But Sutton's car's lost all its top speed.
Yeah.
Both here and on the way up the hill. It's just lost all its top speed. Looks fine in the corners, but definitely lost speed up the hill. So we'll find out after the race what that's all about. But what a fantastic drive by Josh Cook.
And we're on the last lap, so we will not be far off finding out what Ash Sutton's problems were. He is, as Tim's been saying, losing top-end pace. Meantime, Adam Morgan now attacks James Dorlin. This is for 7th. Morgan has not done yet. Last lap, it's Ingram 11 tenths up the road from Camish. Camish is closing, but they've both got boost to use on this last lap. Cook 3rd. He's not going to catch Camish, but it's been a great drive by him as Morgan now starts to challenge James Dorlin. Senna Proctor behind in 9th place after that great save coming out of church a couple of laps ago. Dorlin's car there on the edge, dancing out wide. Morgan trying to get the undercut, maybe if he's really brave through Goodwin. He's not really close enough there, however. So that Toyota stays ahead. But Tom Ingram is going to come through and score victory. And it will be his first of the year. It will be his 34th in the British Touring Car Championship. Dan Camish ain't that far behind him, but the Team Virtue mechanics have just run across the pit lane ready to cheer their man home. They've got this new debris fencing to climb up as well when he comes out of the chicane, and they can cheer him to the echo. It's been a long time coming, but Tom Ingram's first win of 2025 comes at Thruxton. Tom Ingram wins race 1, Dan Camish 2nd, and Josh Cook, after a brilliant effort from 14th on the grid in a rebuilt car, is 3rd. A troubled Ash Sutton 4th, then it's Rowbottom 5th, Hill 6th, Dorlin 7th, his best ever, Morgan 8th, Proctor 9th, Chilton 10th over the line, but Daryl de Leon will inherit that with the penalty that Chilton will have applied. And that was a very lively start to the day.
What a brilliant race. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm delighted for Tom Ingram to get his first win of the year. He drove really well. The team are delighted. It's been a long time coming, that win. Not before time he pulls it off in style. Camish a good 2nd after dropping to 4th, but man of the race, absolutely Josh Cook, rewarding that One Motorsport team for all their hard work overnight.
And hopefully, therefore, Tom can avoid talking about a pointsy day. We can have a winsy day from him instead. First win of the season then, big bag of points. He, of course, gets lap leader points as well as the race win. Doesn't get the fastest lap point, and that goes the way of Josh Cook, as Tim was saying during the race. But well done, Tom Ingram. Really feisty drive. But as far as Ash Sutton is concerned, there are lots of questions to be answered after that car lost pace.
Yeah, the team will be all over the situation. They've probably got the data and to back up whatever he was feeling in the car, and I'm sure they'll have that fixed for race 2, but it definitely was an issue in the car.
And One Motorsport very, very happy indeed. And there in the background, Steph, Josh's partner, and their child, and Dad did them proud there, bringing the car home in 3rd. We understand the lack of power is all the team is saying so far from Ash Sutton, but yes, that's the euphemism for the moment. The results of round 10, Tom Ingram the winner then from Dan Camish, Josh Cook 3rd from 14th in a rebuilt car and an independent category win. Ash Sutton with a problem drops back to 4th, Dan Rowbottom 5th and Jake Hill in 6th. 7th, his best ever in the BTCC for James Dorlin, ahead of Adam Morgan, then the returning Senna Proctor, and Daryl de Leon promoted to 10th after a penalty for Tom Chilton. So that put Chris Smiley 11th, Aaron Taylor-Smith 12th, then Dan Lloyd ahead of Aidan Moffat. Chilton drops to 15th and therefore gets the last championship point. Ronan Pearson 16th from near the back of the grid, Charles Rainford 17th after a spin, Gordon Shedden 18th after a spin, Stephen Jelly was next, and Dexter Patterson came home 20th. It was Nicholas Hamilton who was in the pits and therefore classified 21st. Mikey Doble retired, Max Hall and Sam Osborne lap 1, retirement, and that triggered the safety car, remember. So Team Virtue taking honours. Of course, Tom Chilton's been a winner this year. Now Tom Ingram coming home victorious as well. And those Hyundais still look so fast. And Tom Ingram doing that with just 2 laps worth of boost. And he only used one of them. He still had a lap of boost in hand at the very end of the race. The car will now go through the technical checks. The technical team with the marshal's assistants there ready with the roller to check the ride height of the car. They have the scales to roll the car onto. The roller is okay, that goes under without issue. And then the car will be pushed forward, the weight will be checked, and then Tom Ingram will make his way down the pit lane. But Team Virtue and Napa Racing then having differing fortunes in their quest for leadership. But Ash Sutton still leads the championship, 9 points ahead of Tom Ingram. Jake Hill third, Dan Camish fourth, and Dan Rowbottom and Adam Morgan to round out the top 6. Josh Cook catapults up to 7th now, ahead of Tom Chilton. Chris Smiley is 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Charles Rainford. It's round 11 of the championship. Tom Ingram is on pole. Dan Camish then with him at the front of the grid with 1 and 2 laps of Toka Turbo Boost respectively. Josh Cook starting 3rd. Could there be another win on the cards? He's ahead of Ash Sutton on the grid, and then Dan Rowbottom starting 5th. Jake Hill will line up 6th. Then you've got James Dorlin after a great weekend thus far. He's 7th. Adam Morgan is 8th, and he's the first of those drivers on the maximum amount of laps of boost. Then it's Senna Proctor ahead of Darrell de Leon. Next come Chris Smiley and Aaron Taylor-Smith. Next on the grid, Dan Lloyd. Aidan Moffat is alongside him, ahead of Tom Chilton, who was given that time penalty in race 1, and Ronan Pearson alongside. Then you've got Charles Rainford, who had that big spin at the very start of the earlier race. Alongside him is Gordon Shedden. Then you've got Stephen Jelly and Dexter Patterson. Nicholas Hamilton comes next. His car was overheating in the earlier race. Mikey Doble then with that engine change. He comes next. Max Hall sadly not on the grid after the damage sustained, but Napa Racing UK have done a great job to get Sam Osborne's car out on track. So that gives us 23 cars going into 16 laps of action. In terms of the laps of boost, 1 lap for Tom Ingram, 2 laps of it for Dan Camish, 3 laps for Josh Cook, 4 for Ash Sutton. Dan Rowbottom has 5, 6 and 7 for Jake Hill and James Dorlin. Everybody else on V8. Don't forget, we don't need to worry about people running a different tyre in this race. Normally it's the top 3, remember, that carry the harder tyre into race 2, because everybody is on the hard tyre. So fast and abrasive is Thruxton. This is the one event where option tyres are parked. Everybody's on the hard tyre all day long.
Yeah, that makes for a purity of racing that we only see here now. They're all on the same tyre, which I do quite enjoy. I know the option tyres make a big difference and make a great show, but it's quite nice occasionally just to see them all on the same tyre.
Right, to the grid then comes Mikey Doble. He's going to start 22nd. Nicholas Hamilton just to his right. Dexter Patterson is ahead of him. The last car into place. The green flag is going to be shown at the back, and then a 5-second board will pop out from the debris fencing on the pit wall. There it is. The drivers look towards the lights. Round 11 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is ready to go. Lights go red, quickly lights out. It is blast off with Ingram making a good start, but Josh Cook gets a much better start than Camish. So does Sutton as well, and Dan Camish goes backwards. Look at Sutton round the outside of Cook, up the inside of Ingram into the lead. A fantastic start. Ash Sutton away like a scalded cat. He leads as they head up towards the complex with Ingram on the outside. Josh Cook looking for the run on the inside line, and Dan Camish fighting back as best he can. You've got Rowbottom in the mix as well, but Sutton is away. What a start. That
was one of the best front wheel, if not the best front wheel drive starts I have ever seen. Incredible. You'd think that car was rear wheel drive with a load more boost than everyone else. He literally split the grid in front of him, and he's away.
Brilliant start by Ash Sutton then, and he leads the pack as they work their way up through Goodwood onto Village for the first time. He doesn't just lead, he's got a gap, and it's a sizable gap as well. Further back in the queue, Adam Morgan is busy trying to defend the place, trying to gain the place. You can see who is up and who is down the order. Camish has gone backwards to the tune of 4 places. Aaron Taylor-Smith has gained a couple of places as well. But here they come, up Woodham Hill for the first time with Ash Sutton in the lead, getting away. Ingram second, Cook third. Jake Hill's up to 4th. He's had a good first lap. Then you've got the next of the Napa Racing Fords, which is Dan Rowbottom. Then it's Adam Morgan. Does Camish have a problem? Because he really has struggled on this first lap.
Yeah, he's hemorrhaging places, isn't he? He's lost another place on the run up to the chicane to Adam Morgan. So a really poor first lap. We'll keep an eye on Camish, see if there's any other issue, but may just been a poor first lap. But good starts for Adam Morgan and for Jake Hill.
Absolutely right then, as they come now up to the complex. The Restart Racing Hyundai's getting themselves together then, with Dan Lloyd looking to get past teammate Chris Smiley. That might take some management if they get a bit too close to one another, but they survived it for the moment. What progress of Mikey Doble from the back? He's up to 19th place, still charging on. So the race leaders work lap number 2 with, at the end of lap 1, Sutton leading by 8/10 of a second. Replay here of Adam Morgan getting the run on Dan Camish, heading up Woodham Hill, gets a tow, goes to the inside, the room is there, the Hyundai keeps on coming. Up the hill, heading to the chicane, Morgan through. Look at the lead that Sutton's got. This is nuts.
This is an incredible first lap. And bearing in mind, he's not just doing this over the rest of the field, he's doing this over Ingram.
And he's doing it with a little bit more boost, but he hasn't yet had to use it. He's done that on pure pace. 4 laps of boost available to Sutton, but he hasn't touched that button yet. Ingram, second, Cook third. Way off the racetrack there, and skipping out the chicane. Looked like Dan Camish. There's another one. I think that's Aidan Moffat all over the curb in the middle of the chicane. So it's lively, that's for sure. 1.8 seconds. 1.8 split Sutton from Ingram.
That is a hell of a gap. I mean, Sutton is always good on fresh tyres, on cold tyres, and although the tyres warm up quickly here, to have that kind of pace on the first lap is extraordinary. I mean, a 1:15.2 compares with the fastest lap in race 1 of a 16.2. That's absolutely incredible.
So Ash Sutton then is away and gone up front, and people in the paddock say, well, you know, those Hyundais are really quick. Well, right now there's some head scratching as what they're going to do to catch Sutton. Tom Ingram almost 2 seconds back. Josh Cook in third place. Then it's Hill, Rowbottom, Morgan to round out the top 6. In 7th place, Dan Camish. In 8th, it is Senna Proctor. Aaron Taylor-Smith having one of his better showings of the year, 9th, ahead of his Toyota Gazoo Racing UK, or teammate, James Dornan, who's down into 10th place. Right, that yellow car in the lead is Ash Sutton. Behind him, there's a really good race.
There's a really good race. Look at the battle for third place between Hill and Cook. That's very close indeed. I just hope that Sutton doesn't take too much out of his tyres on those first couple of laps. We'll watch the lap tyres now, 15.8 and a 15.7. In fact, Ingram was a 10th quicker that lap.
And Sutton has now used a lap of that boost allocation. So to try and build that gap, he's been on the boost on one of those earlier laps and try and keep the other 3 perhaps to the end of the race. You're riding on board Dan Rowbottom's fourth then as he sits on the back of Jake Hill, 4th and 5th. They run through the complex now. Rowbottom has been a winner here in the past. Jake Hill had a tough day in the wet in qualifying, but there he is running in that leading quartet, and he's going after Josh Cook.
Yeah, and Sutton obviously decided to use one of those laps of boost, as you say, to get a bit of a gap, try and break the chain behind him, while still leaving 3 laps, which is more than Ingram's got, same as Cook, to defend later in the race. There's Mikey Doble. He's already up to 16th place.
And Tom Chilton is in the pit lane. There he is. So Tom Chilton has had reason to pit.
Looks like a tyre issue. They're changing the left front.
Absolutely. So Tom Chilton is now going to be lucky to stay on the lead lap. Bad news for him, because here are the leaders coming up Woodham Hill with Daryl De Leon there looking to try to make a move against Aaron Taylor-Smith. The BMW goes by and the Toyota has to slot back in behind. And then on the tail of them, you've got Chris Smiley making nice progress with the Restart Racing squad in the next to the Hyundais, the independent Hyundai squad. There you've got at the back Stephen Jelly, who's having a really tough time this year in that One Motorsport Honda.
Yeah, how many times have we seen at the front battles between Josh Cook and his good mate Ash Sutton? I thought about it at the end of the last race when they were running in 3rd and 4th. But so often they find themselves together. But I really thought Cook would be off after Sutton in this race, having set the fastest lap in race 1, but hasn't got the pace yet.
And Gordon Shedden looks like he's been off because
they're clearing
being
grass
scooped out of the front. Yeah, so Gordon Shedden back in the race. He might stay on the lead lap, but another tough day at the office. Now, Ingram has spent the last 2 laps getting a bit nearer to Sutton. 1.8 to 1.7 and then down to 1.5. So we're not done yet, far from it. There is the charging Ingram. You can see what the lap times have been like, and the gap's coming down. And then last time, quicker than either of the 2 ahead of him is Josh Cook. Yes, Sutton has done the fastest lap, but last time around, Josh Cook was faster than the 2 ahead of him. There he is, 3rd.
Yeah, the tiniest gap over Jake Hill, but as you say, I feel they're concertinaing up a little bit together. Both Cook and Ingram quicker than Sutton on that lap. Actually, Cook dropped back a little bit.
And Ronan Pearson and Tom Ingram being warned about track limits, driving standards flags being issued. So the gap 1.4 seconds. Now that's 3 laps in a row that Ingram has chipped away. They're not massive gains, but they're all steps in the right direction. Josh Cook last time around, not as quick as the 2 ahead of him. So it's yo-yoing a bit there. Hill is still 4th, then it's Rowbottom and Adam Morgan after a tough day yesterday, rebuilding the day, rebuilding the weekend. He's up into the top 6 now.
Yeah, Jake Hill definitely has the same pace as the others, which is good to see. In race 1, you heard him talk about on the grid he made changes to the setup. That was because he ended up losing the rear tyres at the end. They got too much oversteer. This is on board with Shedden. And he went off in avoidance, didn't he?
Yeah, of Chilton. So Tom Chilton having a lose going round Church, and Gordon Shedden having to take to the grass in avoidance. Blimey, that's brave stuff. I know there was not much option, but you don't want to be there.
No, now was that when Chilton had his tyre problem?
Presumably, yeah. Because he pitted straight after, didn't he? So, there you've got the race leader, Ash Sutton, into the chicane. This is the fourth. Dan Rowbottom has caught back up to Jake Hill. Jake's got 3 laps of boost left. Rowbottom has got 4 over the timing line. They now come lead gap hovering at 1.4 seconds last time around. Sutton just fractionally the quicker by hundreds of a second.
Yeah, great on board from Dan Rowbottom, really close to Jake Hill, trying to tee up a move potentially into the complex. Is he going to try and go round the outside? No, he's going to try and cut back. No, remember that move in race 1 where he slid up the inside here? Is he going to put it off again? He is.
Nicely done, side by side. Rowbottom on the inside, Jake Hill crowded out wide, 2 wheels on the dirt. That compromises the exit and it brings Adam Morgan into the mix as well. So Rowbottom now up into the top 4. Adam Morgan not quite close enough to attack, but he might be come the end of the lap, on board with him into Goodwood.
That was a great move by Dan Rowbottom, and Hill's the one with dirty tyres now, which is allowing Morgan to get a little bit of run at him. We saw how quick Morgan was through Church on lap 1. Remember when he got a run at Camish? Is he going to carry that speed this time? It's very equal at the moment. A little bit more exit speed from Morgan. He's got the run. Hill goes to defend to the inside, making Morgan go all the way round the outside. He'll be last of the late breakers.
Here they come. Morgan's used all of the boost for that lap, and they make contact. Jake Hill gets into the side of it. Morgan gets turned sideways. He tries to skip the chicane. He has to barge his way through those markers that stop you cutting the chicane. But Adam Morgan, after contact, that was a lucky save, and it's a good job that those recticel barriers are much heavier, because there's limited damage, if any, to the front of the Hyundai. But poor old Adam Morgan, just when he thought he'd save the car, suddenly facing those barriers.
Well, he did a brilliant job. You saw the front wheels spinning wildly as he buried the throttle. The question is, did Jake Hill hit him, and should he give the place back?
Let's have a look. There was certainly contact, but whose fault was it if you can apportion blame? Well, let's stay with Adam Morgan. Here he comes then. He's run out of boost at about this point. He's on the outside heading up to the chicane. Morgan's got his nose in front. There's the contact.
Yeah, I mean, he did brake later, didn't he? So he was marginally in front and decided to go right through the middle, split those 2 barriers. And this is a better look at it. Look, just in front on the brakes. And, well, I mean, in fairness, Jake was sort of going in a straight line, and Morgan was slightly turning into the corner. But could Hill have turned in a bit more? I don't know. Oh no, we got another overheating engine for Doble.
Mikey Doble then in the pit lane. We've also just
Chilton in the pit lane as well. Look at the grass in the front of both of those cars. That's Rowbottom's car, full of grass. He's surely can't continue.
But how has that got there? They've both been off, presumably. So Jake Hill is back ahead, and they've had a moment somewhere, presumably in that fight. Chilton is back in the pit lane. Mikey Doble is in the pits as well. We've seen that. So these two are going to have to be looking at the dials, looking at the temperatures. Jake Hill and Dan Rowbottom then are battling together. This is for 4th place. Well, Jake Hill, we know, got involved with Adam Morgan. That wouldn't have put grass in the front of the car, would it?
No, and how did Rowbottom get it? Because Rowbottom was already in front of Hill. So I'm not sure what went on there. We've missed something crucial there in the race.
Yeah, we'll have a replay in the system, I'm sure, as you ride on board with Dan Rowbottom. He's trying to fight back. Jake Hill just up the road ahead. Up into the top 6, though, now is Dan Camish. So Adam Morgan's dramas at the chicane have cost him a little bit of time, bit of momentum, and Dan Camish now could be a man to watch, because Camish is only 11 tenths back from Rowbottom, whose car is not going to be 100% with all that grass swallowed into the front of it.
That's definitely compromising him, isn't it?
Up to the chicane they come. Meanwhile, the lead gap has shot up to over 2 seconds again. So Ingram has dropped back, and look, he's in jeopardy. Josh Cook right there behind him. Cook has got an extra lap's worth of boost available to him. Sutton's driving off into the distance, looking for win number 3 of the season. But Ingram now is having to make that car really wide to keep Josh Cook at bay. This is the Josh Cook we've been waiting to see all season, right up at the front.
Absolutely, and I suppose if it was going to happen anywhere, it was going to happen here at Thruxton. He is the king of Thruxton. The Emperor has won 10 races here, so perhaps not surprising. I just hope the form continues for the rest of the year, because we need Josh Cook at the front of the grid and mixing it up with the front runners.
There it's Ingram then making that run now up towards Noble, but while they're getting themselves together, the leader getting away. Now this might tell us about Hill and Rowbottom. Let's have a look. That's Rowbottom off the road, and Jake Hill almost followed him, but he gets all the grass thrown at him by Rowbottom, doesn't he?
Yeah, but all of them had a moment there. I wonder if that was anything to do with Mikey Doble's engine overheating and some fluid on the track, because Sutton came through there out of shape. Every one of them came through out of shape, so I think that's what happened.
And this was then Jake Hill getting the move done, coming up Woodham Hill. But yeah, a wild ride for Rowbottom. 2 seconds then is the margin that Ash Sutton has over the opposition. There's Ingram second, trying to get away from Cook once again.
Yeah, this is on board back again with Rowbottom through the chicane, trying not to get track limits infringements, and then on the boost here out of the slower corners if you need to use it. But Jake Hill maintained that position, both he and Rowbottom not retiring with overheating engines, so they've obviously got that under control at the moment.
Yeah, they're trying to carry on, aren't they, and salvage points, and of course a good grid position for the final race of the day. This is Rowbottom again. He's still there right on the back. Look at that BMW. Sutton, having been 2 seconds ahead, the gap's now down to 1.6, so it's still rather elasticated.
Yeah, it's yo-yoing a bit, isn't it? Because Sutton managed to get through that little oil spillage or whatever it was a little bit better than the others, but the gap still looks comfortable in terms of managing it. It's Josh Cook that's just dropped a little bit away from Ingram. Next through will be Hill and Rowbottom, and the gap is quite big, but they're glued together still, and then Camish behind them.
Right, this is Rowbottom's view then, coming now up towards the chicane and getting closer, getting a toe, and now dives to the inside. So Rowbottom has done it once in this race at a different part of the racetrack. He does it again coming into the chicane, and on the inside line you're slightly safer than trying to go around the outside of anybody. Hill uses lots of curb through the chicane, but powers out the other side. He's not done yet, he still wants the place. Sam Osborne has had a second pit stop of the race. That car clearly not 100% from race one, but you look back from Rowbottom at Hill, they are nose to tail.
Yeah, well, I think that was a case of Rowbottom using his extra lap of boost, because Hill had run out. They now neither have any left at all, but it looked very much like a boost pass. Now, a big lock up there. Was that a tyre smoke going into the chicane? Looked like it, into the complex.
There is Jake Hill, having lost out to Rowbottom. He might lose out again to Camish. As for the lead, 1 lap it's down, 1 lap it's up. And now we're back to 1.8. So Sutton has rebuilt that lead once again. Maybe the gap came down a little bit earlier on the basis that he might have been caught out by that liquid that we think might be on the road. But again, Ash has now rebuilt it up to 1.8 seconds. Ingram second, Cook third. Rowbottom and Hill still trading places. It's Robo ahead at the minute. Camish 6th, Morgan 7th, Proctor 8th, Taylor Smith 9th, Darrell de Leon in 10th.
Yeah, that gap's definitely jumped back out again between Camish and Ingram, and I think you're right, it was just a case of relearning where the track grip was through Noble, through that left-hander where they all had a moment before. It's this battle for third that's really closing up.
And it's got Camish involved as well now. It's the fight for 4th, Rowbottom, Hill, Camish out of the chicane they come. Driving standards flag to Jake Hill now for track limits, and Hill is in that invidious position of trying to attack one napper forward and defend from the other.
Yeah, and of these battle for this position, Camish is the only one that has a lap of boost left.
That's right, because the others have hit 0. They've used it all in their fight. Senna Proctor is ahead of Adam Morgan, so Adam, having praised him early on in 6th, after that drama at the chicane, is going backwards. Maybe the car's got some damage, having had to punch its way through those barriers.
Yeah, quite possibly a little bit. Both sides of the front bumper got a good whack, didn't they?
And here, look, Camish on Hill. So Dan Camish squeezes to the outside, going into Noble. That didn't work, but Jake Hill's got the car dancing then. Dan Camish again tries to duck up the inside as they turn their way through Goodwood. Camish, in theory, ought to be able to go through. He's got the power. He doesn't have any grass in the radiator. But Jake Hill, for the moment, stays ahead.
Yeah, I thought Camish had got that done into the left-hander, but Jake Hill was incredibly brave. Maybe this is the lap that Camish is using the boost. Well, it didn't work there. Has he got any left for Woodham Hill?
The margin has opened up just a little bit as they head up the hill. Rowbottom has checked out, hasn't he now? Dan Camish attacking Jake Hill is really good for Rowbottom. Into the chicane they come. Leaders have gone by. Sutton to Ingram, incidentally. He's up to 2.1 seconds with 3 to go. That's Jake Hill going out of the chicane. He's running in 5th. Over the timing line. Now chased by Camish. The margin 0.582 of a second. Senna Proctor comes next. Looking back from Adam Morgan's car, that is Senna Proctor behind him. And Morgan's about to get gobbled up coming out of church.
Both Hyundais, obviously, run by and by Accelerate, but a lot more momentum being carried by Senna Proctor through Church that lap.
Another change a bit further back is that Chris Smiley is up into 11th place. Adam Morgan just about to his woes, a 10-second penalty for track limit. So Adam Morgan, days unravelling around him now. He's got this penalty, so poor old Adam Morgan ends up with a 10-second penalty.
And that's going to drop him right out of the possible reverse grid positions as well. He's in a nice 8th place. That might have been, might have been pole for race 3. We don't know yet, but he's going to be out of the top 12.
So big disappointment. He's fighting back against Senna Proctor. See Senna's car moving a little bit coming out of Church. He had a wild ride there early on. Morgan's not giving up the fight though, is he? Here he comes again to attack his teammate round the outside. Well, he's done the outside move on Jake Hill and it didn't really work. What about on Senna Proctor? That's not going to work either. Senna goes back through in the largely green Hyundai. Behind the pair of them still look, but Aaron Taylor-Smith having one of his better races of the season. Up across the line they go now. Taylor-Smith in 9th, that would be his best finish of the season, and he's going to be promoted to 8th with the penalty for Morgan, so it gets better for ATS. There is the Toyota driver then, heading into the complex, switching teams for this season, and he's taken a while to gel, but it's good to see Aaron Taylor-Smith, great character, running back up near the front, and he's benefiting from the Hyundai squabbling and delaying themselves.
Yeah, they carry on fighting. Of course, this isn't actually for position because Morgan's got that time penalty to be added on at the end. This is back to the Jake Hill, Dan Camish battle. That's closed up back again, and these 2 or 3 are right behind.
So Morgan is going to tumble down the field. That penalty will be applied post-race. He wants to get ahead of Proctor, of course. It's for position on the track. The further up the order he is, if you like, fewer places he's going to drop down. He wants to be as high up as he can be before that penalty kicks in. But Camish wants to be up the order as well, and he's on the attack against Jake Hill. Here they come again, heading up the hill into the chicane. Dan Camish gets the job done. So that was relatively straightforward for him. Camish finally goes by. We're on the last lap, believe it or not, because Ash Sutton's gone by. He's over 3 seconds clear now of Tom Ingram in a masterclass from Ash Sutton.
Well, that was 90% of this race was done by Ash Sutton off the line, wasn't it? That was a sensational start. We'll have to look at that. I tell you what, I bet his teammates will be looking at the data to try and work out how he got that one so perfect.
Yeah, they're good, these 4-wheel drive Fords off the line, aren't they? Excellent stuff by Ash to get away. And the road didn't so much open up for him, but he just positioned the car perfectly all the way off the grid and through the first corner at Allard. So, Ash Sutton, race leader. A little bit of traffic up the road because after the pit stop, Gordon Shedden is the man ahead of him. But Ash Sutton, with so much of the work done off the line, has controlled the pace. And if you want to rub people's nose in it, he's still got 2 laps of boost available. So the majority of this has been done, not all, but the majority, on pure pace and racecraft.
Yeah, absolutely. Used 2 laps just to build that gap up, but and despite that little moment when there was a bit of fluid or something down, he's controlled this race masterfully.
A 45th British Touring Car Championship win beckons for Ash Sutton. He comes out of the chicane, checkered flag wave, win 45 for Ash Sutton. A fantastic performance. Tom Ingram is 2nd. Josh Cook will come across the line for 3rd. And that, remember, is win number 3 of the season for Ash. He's the only driver to have won more than once, and now he's got that strike rate up to 3. Battle on here, Darryl De Leon sandwiched between the cars of Chris Smiley and Dan Lloyd. And as they come across the line, they're going to benefit from Morgan's penalty as well. Smiley gets 9th, 10th De Leon, 11th is Lloyd. Charles Rainford is 12th, and Morgan 13th. So there is Ash Sutton. We will delve deep into our book of superlatives to describe that drive, because that was quite something by Ash. And I know that we do go on about how good he is, but for very valid reasons. He's very, very good.
He keeps impressing us, doesn't he? I could watch that start over and over again. I want to study it a couple of times because it really was incredible. Like you say, it looked like Frank Biegler in a 4-wheel drive Audi A4, didn't it?
That's right. Genius start. And Ash just got everything hooked up. So the car of Ash Sutton victorious then by very nearly 4 seconds, 3.875. And that means a lot to Ash, that race win, after the disappointment of earlier on.
So as requested, look at Sutton, the yellow car. He gets a great roll that splits the 2 cars in front without having to lift, and he's got such momentum, and the gap just opens up on the inside of Ingram. You're flat all the way through that corner, right up to the complex on lap 1, and it just was inch perfect.
And that was Tom Ingram that he was able to outfox at turn 1. Tom Ingram.
Yes.
You don't do that very often. Ash Sutton wins round 11 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship from Tom Ingram and Josh Cook. Dan Rowbottom 4th ahead of Dan Camish and Jake Hill. Senna Proctor's return to the championship nets another good result, 7th ahead of James Dorlin. Chris Smiley 9th this time, and Darrell de Leon into the top 10. Dan Lloyd 11th ahead of Charles Rainford, a penalised Adam Morgan 13th, with the final point scorers being Scotsmen Aidan Moffat and Ronan Pearson. Dexter Patterson out of the points ahead of Stephen Jelly. Aaron Taylor-Smith, though, fell right at the very end to 18th position. Nick Hamilton was 19th, Gordon Shedden delayed early on, and he was 20th, with Sam Osborne making pit stops. We lost Mikey Doble again, and there'll be concern about that car for race 3. Tom Chilton also in strife. So there is Ash Sutton. If you're thinking taking unorthodox lines, it's all to help with the pickup on the tyres for the ride height, but lots of applause for him from the many fans at the chicane, and he's now 14 points ahead of Tom Ingram in the championship, with Jake Hill now 3rd. It's Dan Camish 4th ahead of Dan Rowbottom and Josh Cook. Adam Morgan 7th, Chris Smiley 8th, Tom Chilton 9th, and the top 10 rounded out by Charles Rainford. 3.875 seconds then, that winning margin of Ash Sutton. Let's look at the grid then for the last race of the day at Thruxton. James Dorlin on pole position for the first time. Senna Proctor, returning to the championship, lines up with him at the front of the grid. Then you've got Jake Hill starting alongside Dan Camish. Dan Rowbottom is 5th and Tom Ingram starts 6th, with 7th being Ash Sutton, and Chris Smiley starts 8th. 9th is where you will find Darrell de Leon. Dan Lloyd is going to be 10th on the grid. 11th, Charles Rainford. Then it's Adam Morgan ahead of Aidan Moffat and Ronan Pearson on the 7th row. Row 8, Dexter Patterson and Stephen Jelly. Aaron Taylor-Smith, who had a puncture in the earlier race, starts on the 9th row with Nicholas Hamilton for company. Gordon Shedden, row 10, again having to fight his way through the field. Sam Osborne's had a tough day, as also has Mikey Doble behind him. And, in fact, so too has Tom Chilton. And as for Josh Cook's day, well, it's been a real roller coaster, hasn't it? But he will start at the very back and inevitably is one to watch. Remember that you carry the extra turbo boost that you would have carried as you crossed the line. So if you get a penalty, if you're disqualified, like in the old days of ballast, you still carry that number into the race. So even though Josh Cook was excluded, he was 3rd across the line, so he carries that number of laps of boost rather than the maximum which you would have had by being outside of the top 8. So there is a kind of extra penalty, if you like, on top of that disqualification. Everybody getting warmth into the tyres. Remember, 8 laps of boost is the maximum, and it's just 1 lap available for Ash Sutton. And I think, Tim, we're still reeling, aren't we, after that amazing start in race 2?
Yeah, I bet you the guys in front of him, which in actual fact is Ingram again, is going to close that gap off as soon as the lights go out. You won't want Sutton to get a gap through the middle of him again.
Well, we're about to find out whether it's going to be another rocket ship start by Ash Sutton. The field making its way up to the grid. Then at the back is going to be Josh Cook. So he's actually further back now than he was for the first race, because he had got a lap time in, even though he had that accident during the qualifying period. Here he is, though, right at the very back. 3 laps of extra boost available to him. We are just about good to go then. As soon as he trickles out of the chicane and slots into place, the doctor's car will be there behind. And this is Dan Rowbottom's view. He's already slotted into place. Jake Hill is ahead of him at Team Virtue. There's nothing they can do now. They look at the pictures. They look at the timing screens. They get ready for business. There's one of their cars up near the front. Senna Proctor 2nd on the grid. There's another of their cars near the back. Tom Chilton starting 22nd. We're just about ready to go then. There'll be a green flag at the back to say that we are good to go for round 12 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. A 5-second board is shown. James Dorlin on pole position as the lights go red for the last race of the day. The engine notes rise, the lights go out, it is blast off, and Jake Hill ought to be able to make a good start in the BMW, which he does. Well understand, Rattler, he should be round the outside of the Toyota, and Jake Hill goes through into the race lead. The BMW with its rear-wheel drive lives up to expectation and leads the way. There was a bit of rough and tumble between the Napa Fords, I think, with Ash Sutton getting crowded out onto the dirt, but Jake Hill leads James Dorlin going up towards the complex. Dorlin gets sideways, but he hangs on to it. That's going to spit him out wide, though.
Yeah, good start by Jake Hill. He got that BMW going. I did watch Sutton start, and Ingram did exactly what I thought and pulled straight across in front of him to block him off.
So the cars now then make that run up towards the long right-hander coming through Goodwood into Village, then Church, then on this opening lap of the race. So you've got there Sutton looking for the inside line against Ingram, 2 wheels over the white line as he tries to shorten the corner. Let's see what he can do coming out the other side as the field files through, heading up Woodham Hill then in a moment for the first time. But Jake Hill has made short work of the opposition. He's got Rowbottom now up into second place, Dahl in third, but Ingram versus Sutton behind. They're together as Senna Proctor has dropped really a long way back on this opening lap, hasn't he?
Yeah, but look, side by side, nearly 3 abreast. We've got Dorlin in on the inside, then we've got Camish, and then we've got Ingram and Sutton, and across the chicane goes Dorlin. He has no choice.
Here they come, and across the line at the end of the opening lap. So Jake Hill leads the way from Dan Rowbottom as a cheeky look at the inside there. That was Dorlin against Camish, but Camish hangs on to the pace, and Dorlin now loses momentum coming out the other side of the corner. That means that Ingram goes past him. Sutton's going to attack as well, but it's Hill versus Rowbottom. Now remember, in the earlier race, they were trading places.
Rowbottom setting up this key manoeuvre that he does coming through the complex. He's got that one absolutely nailed. He forces Hill to defend into the first right-hander, hangs it back through the left, and then fires it up the inside. It's such a cool manoeuvre.
But we saw in the earlier race, of course, after Rowbottom had a moment coming out of Noble, but Jake Hill got the place back, and Jake now sitting in the wheel tracks, trying to fight back, but they're being chased by Camish as well. Hill's not giving up, is he? He thinks about the inside line going up towards Church. No way through there.
Well, Hill's race pace was very good in the previous race, just couldn't really make progress. But wow, Rowbottom was right on the limit there coming through Church.
So down they come then towards the chicane. Camish looking a bit more menacing now in third place. Rowbottom the race leader, and there is a 5-second penalty for Dan Lloyd for a false start. So the Restart Racing Hyundai slots the penalty. Here they come out of the chicane then. So new race leader Dan Rowbottom looking for a second victory of the season. Jake Hill goes through in second place. Dan Camish getting ever more competitive on the back of the BMW, but this is enabling Rowbottom to get away now as Hill has to defend.
Yeah, I wonder if Dan Camish saw what his teammate did through this complex on the last lap and can tee up the similar manoeuvre. I've actually only really seen Rowbottom pulling that off today. It's a great bit of a karting manoeuvre, and we know Rowbottom's karting prowess is first class. But look, he's getting away while Hill's defending from Camish.
And Camish has done the fastest lap of the race, so Dan needs to get through in a hurry here. Behind them, there is the rapidly closing Ingram. Then you've got Sutton. Small gap back to Dahl in 6th. Proxy 7th. 8th on the road is Lloyd ahead of Smiley Rain for 10th. But remember that Dan Lloyd will have that penalty to be applied at the end of the race. Replay of Rowbottom's move.
Yeah, he's forced Hill to defend. Hill then hangs slow round the left-hander to set himself up for the exit, but Rowbottom just carries the speed and slings it up the inside. It's a really nicely thought-out, planned and executed manoeuvre.
So here are the 3 race leaders then. Rowbottom just ahead of Hill. Then you've got Camish. In fact, he's been caught in turn by Ingram. So Rowbottom's hit the front. Now he's trying to get away. Jake Hill is being monstered by Camish. Then it's Ingram as to the inside. Camish has a look, but Jake Hill defends. Here, Rowbottom using the boost maybe to get away. Dan Rowbottom had 4 laps of it. He's got 2 laps left, whereas Hill behind has got 4.
Yeah, Hill's been savvy in saving his. He did have 6 though, so he's already used 2 as well. Oh, Dorlin going slowly, was that a glimpse of?
It was. That was coming over the line. He went past our window very slowly indeed. So James Dorlin's got a big problem. He was last with a problem, and the car's going to pull off, I suspect, coming down the side of Allard. Lap 4 we are on. Sutton now, fast lap of the race. Look at Camish's car dancing out of Noble. Sutton is on the back of Ingram in the meantime, but Rowbottom is getting away once more. Look, he's building that lead as Jake Hill, who is with more boost at the moment, sitting behind him in second place. In fact, Hill has more boost available than Rowbottom, and so does Camish in third place. So Dan needs to be careful when and where he uses it.
Yeah, but they've all pushed hard, haven't they, at the start of this race, so it's going to come down to the end. But as you say, Hill's got the most out of anyone, double what Rowbottom's got. Yeah. 4 laps to 2 of boost available. And
we saw Rowbottom's graphic go green coming up to the chicane, so I think he's using it to try to get away. There's Proctor heading a complete Hyundai battle. This is on board with Adam Morgan, whose Hyundai's on the back of Lloyd's Hyundai, on the back of Smiley's Hyundai, on the back of Proctor's Hyundai as they come over the line. Rowbottom leading by 7 tenths ahead of Hill. Rowbottom is down to 1 lap only of boost available here.
Well, he's tried to do what Sutton did in race 2 and build a gap, but he just hasn't got enough pace. He has got a little bit of a lead though, and if Hill goes into defensive mode, that could really help him.
Rowbottom did the absolute best last sector of anybody on the previous lap, and Hill did the absolute best middle. So they're both still quick. This is Sutton's, sorry, not Sutton's view, it's Morgan's view as they come out of the right of Seagrave. Morgan then chasing after the restart Hyundai of Dan Lloyd ahead, and there Sutton goes a little bit wide, gets a wheel onto the dirt coming out of Noble. Lead gap, 7/10 of a second. James Dorlin looked parking the Toyota. He's tried to limp it back to the pit lane, but to no avail, and that car grinds to a halt.
Ash Sutton with the fastest lap on that last lap of 15.7. He did a 15.2 in race 2, so he can go faster.
Sutton, Lloyd, Patterson all being warned about track limits. This is Camish now having to think about defending from Ingram for third place rather than attack. But look, Hill's getting closer to Rowbottom again through the chicane. The wheel lifting forward of Camish is right there ahead of Ingram. Sutton is next up, so Ingram's on the attack, he's on the defence as well. The leaders go by, 7/10 becomes half a second. And Jake Hill still has 2 more laps of boost available than does Rowbottom. This is building up really nicely.
It certainly is. The gap is splitting between them. Look at Sutton, he's looking a bit more urgent now. Looks at the outside, then cuts back to the inside. Is he going to do a Rowbottom and all the way around the... He's teeing it up, and he's done it. Oh, side by side, they clash. Ingram gets wide on the grass, he'll have to lift off. And he gets back on, but that was side-by-side racing. You could see that coming, couldn't you, a mile off.
So Ash Sutton, with only 1 lap of boost available, is doing this again on pure pace as more track limit warnings fly. Let's have another look at it. This was on Ingram.
Ingram, you hold the car tight to the left to get a good exit, but if the car behind you just carries the speed and doesn't worry about it, you can get alongside you. I think that was fair.
Hard racing. Right, Hill's on the boost. Camish is on the boost as they come up the hill then. So towards the chicane, this is the end of lap number 6. Look how much closer Jake Hill has got. Remember, he was ahead of Rowbottom earlier on and lost out. He's trying to regroup and fight back. He's not fallen off the back of the Ford. He's nearly into the back of the Ford through the chicane. Rowbottom, he's under huge pressure now. Yeah,
but he's going to defend like crazy, I'm sure.
So over the line they go. Camish is still 3rd. Ash Sutton 4th, having done that fastest lap of the race. Ingram down to 5th. Senna Proctor in 6th, ahead of Smiley. Lloyd 8th on the road with a penalty. Morgan 9th and Rainford in 10th place. Gordon Shedden's up to 16th, as you see there. Josh Cook going around the outside. Josh trying to get himself up from 18th, which is where he was when they crossed the line. Dexter Patterson on the inside. Cook is ahead coming into the complex.
Yeah, Patterson's up the inside. I think Cook's had to give him a lot of room there, but should hold the position. Needs a good exit. It's taken some time for Cook to get through these back markers, hasn't he? But he's making progress now. He could do with a safety car, couldn't he? Just to close everything up a bit.
Could a bit, right. So at the moment, Jake Hill, having used a bit more boost, has only 1 more lap available than does Rowbottom. So the battle for the race lead is well and truly joined. Camish still running 3rd. Then the charging Sutton. That's Adam Morgan going through 9th. He'll be 8th because of the penalty for Dan Lloyd as they throw the cars through Church. You can see Dan Lloyd hanging on to his restart racing Hyundai ahead of the Team Virtue car. Going now up Woodham Hill. Morgan getting closer all the time, looking to try to make that move. He's tried the outside line in previous races. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, and this time doesn't make the move. Slots back in.
Very close. You can see how hard it is from the on-board just to sort of spot the actual limitations of track limits at the chicane. There's nothing to visually show it. So very difficult. And Morgan, off! That is Adam Morgan.
That's at Allard, that's at turn 1. Adam Morgan in the wall. That'll be the safety car Josh Cook needs, surely, to get that out of the way, because it's damaged the barrier, there's a damaged car, and so Adam Morgan is off the road. But how did he get there? That's the next question. Was there contact? Was it a drama on his part? The safety car is deployed as expected, so the race is going to be neutralised.
Well, we saw this on the approach to the chicane, on board with Morgan, and he's got Dan Lloyd in front of him. It looked like they got cleanly through the chicane. Did Morgan then go on the boost and try and get an overlap? This is where we lost the footage before. He's actually not close, is he? Oh, he got a wheel on the grass. He got a wheel on the grass on the left, trying to widen the entry to Allard. That was, I hate to say it, Adam, that was all your own fault. But your eye line is to the left. You watch his wheels on the... There, just as he leans on the left-hand side, he's got the wheels on the grass. But your eye line is looking into the corner, it's not looking to the left at the outside of the track. So a small mistake had big consequences, I'm afraid, for Adam Morgan.
So Adam gets out of the car furious with himself. That was, again, a big impact. There's not masses of runoff there at Allard, but safety car deployed then. And Paul Ridgway, Dan Rowbottom's engineer nearest to you, he'll be on the radio talking to Dan about what's happening, what they need to do. So the safety car will be out for a good couple of laps, I think, as Rowbottom, Hill, Camish, Sutton, Ingram, Proctor is that top 6.
Just evaluating whether that car can be towed or whether it needs the lift. Adam Morgan talking to the marshals, asking what they want him to do. If it can be towed, then he could get back in it and steer it, but looks like they've got the straps around the wheels. He's asking if he could walk across. Right, here we go with the start. Watch Jake Hill. He comes, get a nice launch through. Watch behind, 2 rows behind. Ingram cuts across the front of Ash Sutton to cut him off, but Hill is through into the lead. Then there's a little bit of grassy moment, isn't there? This is on board with Rowbottom, a little bit too much clutch slip, but he gets a better start than Dorlin, but the road is blocked off. He has nowhere to go, and Hill managed to get round the outside. Dorlin is up to speed now and in a clear second. They all go to the inside, which is what you do if you're in the first 2 or 3 cut. Oh, a little touch there from Rowbottom. He was rubbing up the back of Dorlin, which allows Hill to get a bit of a gap.
We're back racing at Thruxton, and it is Dan Rowbottom in the lead on the restart. This is the restart lap. He's got Jake Hill and Dan Camish behind him, and big drama for another of the Toyotas. It's Ronan Pearson with the bonnet up.
Yeah, either the pins have come loose or there's been a bit of contact. It's popped the bonnet up on Ronan Pearson's car, so it's been this is his view. Believe me, he can see a little bit out the bottom, the gap below the bottom of the bonnet, but he can't go at race speed, obviously, and will have to go into the pits.
Jake Hill, second place, being warned about track limits. He's had the driving standards flag, so Jake's got to be careful. And look, Rowbottom is getting away then. We're on lap number 11. It is going to be an 18-lap race now because of that safety car period. And here comes Camish on the attack. All of this is protecting Rowbottom, but Camish has done it. Round the outside, he goes second. Great move.
That was a brilliant move. Really pulled off with precision. Great driving by Dan Camish. So hard to break round the outside there into the chicane and not lose control of the car or have contact. That was a lovely move.
So nicely done by Dan Camish. He's up to second. Now, next target, Dan Rowbottom. And look, Sutton might make this a Napa Racing 1, 2, 3 as they come through the complex. Sutton's closing on Hill. He's taking Ingram with him. Ingram still has an extra lap more boost than anybody else. Look back from Rowbottom's car. Wait for Camish to make the move.
Camish goes to the outside. He does brake later, so he's in front now, so has the right to claim the corner. But look, he doesn't run wide at all. He leaves a little bit of room on the inside just for Hill. Oh, Hill's had a slide, and he's hit Sutton,
who goes around and gets off the race line. Others come streaming past. Jake Hill's got going again as well. They've both survived a mighty moment, and again, that could have been so much worse. But Jake Hill and Ash Sutton possibly with damage, certainly with grass in the rads. So this is going to be difficult for both of them, but the fact they're still in the race and didn't wipe out anybody else is quite amazing. This is for the lead, Rowbottom versus Camish, and look who's up to third. It is now Ingram with still an extra lap's worth of boost.
Well, Ingram must have been, I mean, I hate to say, but he would have been loving that moment, wouldn't he, for Hill and Sutton. They gained 2 places.
Look at Hill, he's dropping back. The temperatures, I think, are going skywards, so Jake Hill's car with bodywork flying is going to end up surely coming into the pit lane. Charles Rainford has pitted anyway, and Jake Hill pits this time, so we've lost Jake Hill from the race. Now, there he is, you can see why.
Yeah, he's got all that grass. Oh, look at it all pouring out the front radiator. But how did he lose it? Comes through Allard, and then through Noble, sorry. Oh, he had Sutton on his outside. Yeah. He actually had Sutton already round the outside. They were both trying to make it through the corner. And we've seen so many times the cars just end up going to the outside of the track. This is on board. Mikey Doble's view. Grass and dirt all over the track. How Sutton managed to spin and keep going so quickly, I have no idea.
I mean, so often if a car spins there, it's away off into the barriers, isn't it? But amazing that Ash Sutton could save that. Right, Camish, second, has run out of boost now. He's used all of his laps. So if he wants to think about winning this race, it has got to be on pure pace. That gives the advantage back to Rowbottom, doesn't it?
Well, it gives the advantage back to Ingram as well with 2 laps. behind Camish.
Yeah, but he's also got to make up 1.4 seconds, has Ingram. Let's see what the lap time is, because last time he was slower, but he did have to dodge spinning cars. Over the line goes Rowbottom, over the line goes Camish. The gap is 0.7 of a second. That time Rowbottom quicker, and Ingram does 16.6. He's not as quick as Rowbottom, but he is fractionally faster than Camish. First to third is 2 seconds then.
Yeah, and of course this does give Senna Proctor a lovely position. He's in a fourth place, which he'll be super happy with for his first return back. And look, he's got nobody particularly close to him, so well done, Senna.
Smiley is the one doing the chasing. Behind Smiley in 6th, it is Dan Lloyd, but Lloyd's got that penalty, don't forget. Mikey Doble up to 8th, having started 21st. That is a mighty effort by Mikey Doble. Josh Cook is 12th from 23rd. Another great drive, possibly helped by the safety car. And Jake Hill is circulating again, but in 19th.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jake, but I'd love to have seen a replay of the two of them coming into that corner just to see what their respective positions were, because we saw it on the exit, but they were clearly trying to make, Ash Sutton was trying to make the place round the outside of Jake Hill.
And he's currently in 7th place, so Ash got away far better than did Jake Hill. But Rowbottom right now is looking secure up front because Camish can't quite get close enough. The Napa Racing Fords then across the line together with Tom Ingram there in 3rd place. Ingram still has his 2 laps of boost to use, but that lap was a 16.7. He's only creeping closer to the cars ahead. Senna Proctor now being given the warning flag for track limit offences.
Here's another one. Look, it looks like Hill had a bit of a moment coming out of the complex. Sutton gets well alongside. Hill has got a lack of pace on the way in. Oh, and he touches the rear quarter, even though there was a bit of room, and then they both run out wide. So I think that was 90% Jake Hill's fault, really, wasn't it?
And it all happens ahead of Ingram, who gets through before Sutton spins across the road. The restart Hyundais have to scatter, and Mikey Doble at the inside as well. But the Sutton didn't hit anything or anybody and carries on, and he's gaining back places. Look at this, it's quite remarkable. He's ahead of Dan Lloyd.
Well, I mean, a racing driver is required to put bad things out of his mind very quickly and concentrate on not what's happened, but what you're trying to do. And I mean, Sutton was immediately back on it, wasn't it? He didn't lose his rhythm. He was straight back on it. And I mean, how a racing driver does that is one of the most remarkable things. But they don't do it any better than Sutton. He really is incredible. From the very next corner, he was back into his rhythm.
So that is going to put him into the top 6 once more. He's thinking points, thinking championship all the time. Meanwhile, it's a Napa Racing 1-2. Dan Rowbottom ahead of Dan Camish. They're going through is Tom Ingram. Now 4th on the road, Senna Proctor ahead of Smiley, and then Sutton up into that top 6 again.
Well, it's been a great drive by Mikey Doble, hasn't it? Because he started on the penultimate row just in front of Josh Cook and has made fantastic progress.
Yeah, and he's going to gain another place because of Dan Lloyd's penalty as well.
Yeah.
So Doble is 8th. He's going to get at least 7th, assuming that there are no dramas. Now look, Ingram is a bit closer to Camish now. That gap is down to 0.7 of a second. Last time around, Ingram did lap quicker than both Camish and Rowbottom. Dan Rowbottom, I think, though, is managing this situation now because he's 9/10 up the road as Doble gets onto the back of Lloyd. Remember that these two are not only arguing over a place on the road, they're also arguing over places and points in the Independence Championship.
Yeah, and Ingram has used pure pace to catch Camish. He hasn't used his boost, but Spencer Aldridge will have told Ingram that Camish has got no boost left. So he will know he's got 2 laps to attack him. As Doble goes round the outside, can he pull the manoeuvre off? I don't think he's far enough forward. He isn't. Oh, but he still straight lines the chicane just to be safe. But he gained no advantage, so that'll be okay.
So Dan Rowbottom then, with 2 laps to go, leading by now 1 second from Dan Camish, who's only half a second up on Ingram. A change for second is possible before the end of the race, but while they're squabbling for it, that will help Rowbottom a little bit more, and he's on for a 2nd victory of the season here. Look, there is the Caterpillar Napa Racing UK Ford heading on towards Noble. That's the race leader. Total concentration. Seen working hard behind the wheel. Grabs the gear, goes into Goodwood, then onto Village, towards Church next. A rejuvenated Dan Rowbottom this year after a really tough 2024. He's come out fighting, and he's on target, as I say, for the 2nd victory of the season.
Yeah, he's driving better than ever, I think, Dan Rowbottom. We've heard him interviewed during the day, just seeking that better setup in the car. Quick glance in the mirror. If you do it at the same point every lap, you get a good feel for the lap, for the gap, as it's Sutton that's massively under. But look at the boost that advantage the Hyundai gets over Camish.
Indeed so, for second place. Round the outside goes Ingram then, up in the second spot, but he's going to run out of laps to do anything about Rowbottom. Camish then falls back behind, so Rowbottom leads now from Ingram, and that margin that was 1.7 is up to 2.1 with a lap to go. It's almost game over in terms of any more places gained for Ingram, because the gap is just too great unless there's a problem for the race leading Ford. But it's been a good charge and more points for Tom Ingram. A win earlier on in the day, a win for Ash Sutton, and now seemingly a win for Dan Rowbottom as well. And that would be a fourth of Dan's career. So out of the complex they go. And there you've got Sutton after that amazing save, now up into fifth at the expense of Chris Smiley. And Smiley leads the independents.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sutton will be relieved to have got good points out of this. Disappointed with the manner in which it's happened, but let's not take anything away from this man, Rowbottom. What a fine drive it's been, absolutely fantastic.
Turns his way through Church then for the last time, and the Napa Racing UK Ford is going to come through for victory then. Another check in the mirror, and Dan thinks, right, I'm nearly there, home and dry. Down towards the chicane he comes. We've got Josh Cook having just broken into the top 10, by the way, but Dan Rowbottom it is who comes into the chicane as the final race leader, soon to be race winner of the day. He's about to accelerate his way now up towards the timing line. Dan Rowbottom wins at Thruxton. A second win of the season for Dan Rowbottom. Second goes the way of Tom Ingram. Third across the line, Dan Camish. Senna Proctor is fourth. Ash Sutton is fifth. Sixth to win the independents is Chris Smiley. And Mikey Doble has just been given a 10-second penalty for track limits. So after all the hard work, Mikey Doble will drop back in the corrected order because they're still pouring over the line. He ends up 14th, Mikey Doble, in a race that could have offered so much more. But Dan Rowbottom it is then, a very happy race winner at the end of the day. Tom Ingram takes second place, and the Rowbottom family will be very pleased indeed, no question about it. Ash Sutton then, Tim said he'll be pleased to score points. He'll be pleased to still have a car, I think, after that big lose, never mind points, but he comes through for fifth, and it's going to be really interesting to see how a really good day of racing at Thruxton has affected the championship, which we'll get to those standings very shortly. But on his end lap, Dan Rowbottom with a wave to everybody around the circuit, marshals and fans alike, lets us all soak in. It's been a lean couple of seasons for him, last year particularly, but yeah, as Tim says, he's driving like a new man. He's come out fighting, a rejuvenated driver and a deserving winner.
Well, he's winning races, he's not making mistakes, he's really looking like a front-running championship contender, which is what he's always considered himself to be. It's great to see.
Just saw in the pit lane his engineer Paul Ridgway with Malcolm Swetland from the team celebrating. The results of round 12, Dan Rowbottom wins by 2.2 seconds from Tom Ingram. Dan Camish third, ahead of Senna Proctor, then Ash Sutton, and sixth Chris Smiley to win the independents. Aaron Taylor-Smith gets up to seventh, really good drive by him ahead of Josh Cook, up from last on the grid, a fantastic drive ahead of Tom Chilton. Dan Lloyd's penalty ultimately putting him 10th. 11th, Gordon Shedden in the points ahead of Sam Osborne, turning around a bad start to the day. Aidan Moffat 13th. The penalised Mikey Doble drops to 14th ahead of Darrell de Leon. Stephen Jelly from Dexter Patterson, then Nicholas Hamilton and Jake Hill 19th after the pit stop after that contact with Sutton. Charles Rainford also in problems, he was 20th. Ronan Pearson we lost with the bonnet. Adam Morgan into the barriers, and James Dorlin had a mechanical problem, remember, early on in the race, having started on pole. So, Ash Sutton after a race win, Tom Ingram after a race win, Dan Rowbottom after a race win. Factor all that into the championship situation and they become the top three. Ash Sutton, championship leader, Tom Ingram second, Dan Rowbottom third then, ahead of Dan Camish, Jake Hill fifth, ahead of Chris Smiley. Then you've got Adam Morgan seventh, Josh Cook eighth with Tom Chilton and Charles Rainford rounding out the top 10.